Section 1.2 is all about sampling. So here's our book learning objective and our course learning objective. So as I said in the previous section, what we want to do in statistics is find how well or accurately a statistic estimates a parameter. So statistics come from samples and parameters respond to a population. We do that by picking a representative sample for conducting our studies. So like I mentioned before, if we're studying college students, we wouldn't want to only select women or biology majors or people on the basketball team. That wouldn't be a representative sample of college students. We can pick a representative sample by randomly picking members from the population, but there's more than one way to do that, and that's what this section's all about. First off, I want to talk about when we don't take a sample, and that's a census. There was a census this year in 2020. A census is, hi Bobby, a census is a collection of data from every member of a population, right? A representative sample is one in which all the relevant characteristics that you need of sample members are generally the same as the population. So if we're doing a study comparing men and women, we'd want to make sure we've got 49.6 or closer to 50% women and 50% men in order to make sure we have a representative sample. The census is important in the United States. It determines how funds are allocated and how many representatives we get in Congress, but not all studies can be a census, right? Unless it's a very small population. So we're gonna have to learn how to pick a representative sample. So let's suppose you want to determine the mean height of all students at your school. Which is more likely to be a representative sample for that study? The men's basketball team or the students in your statistics class? Well, definitely probably not the men's basketball team, right? They tend to be, on average, a little bit taller. The students in the statistics class would be a more representative sample. One thing we need to be aware of is bias, right? A statistical study suffers from bias if its design or conduct tends to favor certain results, right? So if I wanted to study how many people like ice cream and I was standing outside of an ice cream parlor, this is a very trivial example, but that would introduce bias, right? If I wanted to take a political poll of two candidates, but I was standing outside of one of the candidates' offices, that would introduce bias. So Nielsen Media Research earns money. This is a real company. They earn money by charging television stations for their services where they can provide ratings for their TV shows. This is called Nielsen ratings. You might have heard of them before. Why doesn't NBC simply do its own ratings instead of paying a company like Nielsen to do them? Well, NBC wants to have high ratings, right? The higher their ratings, the more they can charge for commercial space. And yeah, that's not fair. That introduces bias, right, Bobby? So NBC can't do their own ratings. They would have to pay another company in order for people to, like investors, to trust their ratings. I'm gonna let you guys meet Bobby real quick because she's over here. This is Bobby. Hi, Bobby. We're talking about sampling methods. Hello. Okay, down you go. Please be quiet. So let's get to introduce some of the sampling methods. I think there's 6 of them total. There might be one more. So the first type of sampling is simple random sampling. So that's when every possible sample of a particular size has an equal chance of being selected. So every possible person has a chance of being selected. So if I wanted to put everybody in class's names in a hat and like pull out 5 names, each of those names have the same probability of being drawn. So let's say we want to conduct an opinion poll in which the population is all residents in our town. Would you choose a simple random sample by randomly selecting names from the local property tax records? Would that be a random sample? So we're thinking about property tax. The answer is no. Why? Because not everybody owns property. I don't own property. So I wouldn't have been included in this study. I wouldn't have had the same probability of getting selected for this study. The next sampling method is systematic sampling. So this is a type of sampling in which we use a system, i.e. such as choosing like every 5th person or every 7th person or every 10th person, right, of a population. So let's say we're conducting a survey of students in a co-ed, very exciting, co-ed dorm room. Can we obtain where the males are assigned to odd number rooms and females are assigned to even number rooms? Can we obtain a representative, look at this cat. Can we obtain a representative sample if I chose every 10th room? Well, no, right? Because if I chose the 10th room and then the 20th room and then the 30th room, all of those would be even numbered rooms, which would have just women in them. So in order to choose a representative sample, I couldn't choose every 10th room. I could choose every 5th room, every 7th room. You need to choose an odd number, and here's why. So let's say we choose every 7th. Our first room is 7. Our next room would be 14, 21, 28, and so on. So here I would have an equal amount of odds, so males, and an equal amount of evens, so females, in our study.